Now, to discuss the situation in Bahrain a little further, we're being joined by former CNN journalist Amber Lyon via Skype from Los Angeles. She's a three-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and filmmaker. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV. Now, you'd made a documentary on the situation in Bahrain, which was not aired internationally by CNN. Just walk us through what you saw and what the Bahraini monarchy doesn't want the world to know.
Well, we did this documentary right after the intense crackdown with the help of Saudi troops back in March of 2011. And we witnessed doctors who had said that they'd been abused and tortured at the hospital. We saw the militarization of the main hospital in Bahrain. We talked with ambulance drivers who had broken legs and were beat by security forces, patients who'd actually run out of the hospital beds in their hospital gowns because they were so terrified about the military taking this over. And so the situation there was pretty dire when you look at the human rights abuses going on. And we came back to the US and right away wanted to get the story out to the public, and eventually came out with a documentary called I Revolution that did air on CNN in the US, but was never shown on CNN International.
Right. Now, this did create a bit of a controversy, as you said that this was done because the Bahraini regime was paying CNN to keep it off air, internationally speaking. Now, the Bahraini regime has gone through great lengths at covering up the uprising, like hiring major PR firms, etc. So paying a media outlet like CNN doesn't seem too much of a stone throw away now, does it?
Well, and with this situation too, I mean, we can never prove black and white that Bahrain intimidated CNN into not airing this documentary. But if you look at the situation, the same time that this documentary that was one of the most stark reports on the reality of the Bahrain regime, that it didn't air on CNN International. At the same time, Bahrain was a paying customer at CNN, actually paying for content. What I say is disguised as news, because it was very difficult for viewers to figure out this content was sponsored by the Bahrain regime. And this content involved CNN reporters going live from the racetrack in Bahrain, talking about how progressive and advanced the country was. Meanwhile, if they had looked at the other side of the situation, you had these horrific human rights abuses going on in the country.
Now, you've also criticized the U.S. support for the Bahraini regime and stated that the media censorship of your Bahrain documentary is connected to this greater plan of a war in Iran. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, what's going on is the United States public is constantly being inundated with reports that are demonizing Iran and Syria. I mean, it's all over the nightly news and in the papers, blogs, and in journalistic outlets. And you're really seeing that story overblown, and then you're not seeing equal coverage being given to the horrific human rights abuses happening in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. And several journalists and experts I've spoken to feel that we are being led into a potential conflict this time, instead of Iraq, it being Iran, and the public is being fed propaganda continually demonizing Iran, and you're seeing these other stories like Bahrain being covered up, and that has some of us worried that the public's being fed this propaganda in order to get the public to approve another conflict with Iran.
Well, so what needs to change, in your opinion, with stories of censorship of what's happening in Bahrain? On the other hand, there's a demonization of Iran, as you've just said. What needs to change? We saw the 99%ers rise up last year and hoped that things would change. It will change the narrative within American media as well. But that really hasn't happened to a great extent.
Yeah, I mean, and even that movement itself hasn't been accurately covered in the U.S. There have been a lot of claims that movement has been buried in the media as well, unfortunately. And I've witnessed that myself as being a reporter who's been out on the street covering the Occupy movement. What needs to change? I'd say that the journalists that see that this censorship is going on, and also see that that propaganda is being fed to viewers, I think they need to come forward and take a stand. In the end, I think that complacent journalists are helping to kill journalism here in the U.S. And unfortunately, more haven't come forward to talk about this censorship. Also, not only that, but about the constant propaganda that the American public is being fed right now in regards to Iran. With everything we have going on in the U.S. right now, economically speaking, the amount of coverage we're seeing and the amount of demonization of Iran is really absurd.
All right, Amber Lyon, former CNN journalist, three-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and filmmaker there, joining us via Skype from Los Angeles. Many thanks indeed for your comments here on Press TV. It was good to have you with us.